What's good, everybody? Take Easy back here with more wrestling review. I haven't posted here in a little bit, but I've got some openings in my schedule, so I'm going to try to get caught up. So we're going to start getting caught up with our August top 10 and September top 10. Still a couple days left in September. I haven't watched everything. I haven't got to the CMLL Pokemon show yet, or watched all of the Stardom show. I think there was, and New Japan just had a show this weekend. I haven't watched that, so I haven't seen everything from September. But I'm close enough to having a top 10 and trying to get ahead of this here. So I might touch on those shows in October if anything really blows me away. But let's jump right into it. The month of August, I only have 10 matches in total that were 3 3/4 stars or higher. So we got no honorable mentions this month. So we'll jump right into it. Coming in at number 10 was from Dragon Gate Dangerous Gate on August 17th. You got the team of Paradox, Dragon Kid, and Yamato, Kazuma Kimura, taking on the Aoyagis brothers and Inoue. I thought this was pretty good. This was more of a showcase of the kids, Kimura and Inoue, and the established guys, the Aoyagis and the Paradox duo. Hard-hitting, good showcase for both these guys. I thought they really showed out. Not quite enough for a 4-star, but a very good and very solid 3 3/4. Coming in at number 9, I've got Kyle Fletcher defending the TNT belt against Hiromu Takahashi from AEW Forbidden Door on August 24th. I thought this was really good. This was one of my favorite matches on the whole show. Hiromu really showed out here. I think you can argue going 4 stars here. I went just a little under, but very strong nonetheless here. Good showing here for the last few months from Kyle Fletcher, and it was a good return to form for Hiromu here. Coming in at number 8, I have the Open the Triangle Gate match of Team Mexico defending against the Noah trio of Dragon, Bane, Alpha Wolf, and Super Crazy. I'm not super familiar with Wolf and Bane, but they really blew me away here, especially in the third fall of this show. Super Crazy looked every bit his age. Team Mexico showed up pretty well, but this was a bit of an uneven match. I thought the first fall was good. I thought the second fall was pretty sloppy, and I thought the third fall was incredible. So ultimately landed at 4 here. They did the traditional Lucha rules of best 2 out of 3, which I think might have been better had they just done a 1 fall. But that third fall was worth the wait and the rigidness to get there. Coming in at number 7 was the ROH Women's World Title match at Death Before Dishonor. Athena defending against Mina Shirakawa. This was maybe the best match I've ever seen of Mina's work. I haven't seen a lot of her Stardom stuff, but she leaves a lot to be desired for me. But they had a nice little sprint here where Athena brought the absolute best out of her. Nothing super amazing here. Just very solid, good, quick work here from Athena and Mina. I gave this one 4 stars as well. Coming in at number 6 was the AEW Men's World Heavyweight Title. Hangman Page defending against MJF at AEW Forbidden Door. I'm sure you guys have probably heard about this match. I thought this match was really excellent for the first 3/4. Then all the shenanigans started. There's no defense for the foot on the rope thing. I don't think that worked at all. But I thought the cheating and the briefcase and the rings and all that stuff actually did work pretty well. I'm not typically a fan of the shenanigans nonsense, but these two were just at the peak of their powers here. The crowd was eating out of the palm of their hands. So a lot of it didn't really offend me. It was probably inching towards being a 4.5 before all the bullshit, but it was still great enough that I still went 4 on this. Coming in at number 5 was the Brave Gate title match. Ryoya Tanaka defending against Masaki Mochizuki. I thought this was a pure spectacle. This match I went 4 1/4 on. It's probably not actually that in quality, but just getting to see a 55-year-old Mochizuki do his first ever Brave Gate match here and work Brave Gate style. He was busting out moonsaults, standing moonsaults. He was working at a frenetic pace, and I just thought it was a spectacle to see that guy work that speed. Tanaka has been really good in this singles run. This was a bit uneven for him, but I think just the odd pairing made this a little difficult, but I thought it was tremendous nonetheless. Coming in at number 4 was to open the Twin Gate title match from Dangerous Gate. Kota Minoura and Jason Lee defending against the D-Courage team of Yuki Yoshioka and Dragon Dia. 4 1/4 on this as well. I thought this was the best match on Dangerous Gate. This was the first time I've really seen it with Yoshioka. A lot of people have speculated that he is kind of holding back here to sell the coming back from the injury angle. As someone that's not familiar with him pre-injury, that's kind of a tough sell for me. But the flashes really came through here for longer stretches than I'm used to seeing. And I can totally see him being a future Dream Gate title holder after this. I would say this match is recommended. I think this is the best I've seen of this duo, and I was very excited. I'm very excited to see more. Coming in at number 3, I have the 3-way trios match. It's probably the best way to say that. Team Mexico, Love&Peace, and D-Courage. This was a bit of a play on the Kobe World match with the D-Courage trio replacing Z-Brats. I wasn't quite as high on this. They worked at a slower pace and went for more of an epic than the Kobe World Sprint, which makes a lot of people like it more. It made me like it a bit less just because I thought it lagged a bit in places. You also had the trickiness of Team Mexico being the champs, but D-Courage being on this massive push with Tanaka as the Brave Gate champion and Yuki and Daya about to win the Twin Gate belts. So you kind of had to protect everyone, even though Dragon Gate doesn't do bullshit finishes. Ultimately, the champs did get pinned here, and D-Courage went over. Went a little long for my taste, but nothing was really bad here. Bandido, this was probably his best showing of his whole excursion here. This is very good. I think this is worth checking out as well. Coming in at number 2 was the Deathriders and Young Bucks, taking on the All-Star team of Hiroshi Tanahashi, Will Ospreay, Darby Allin, and the Golden Lovers at AEW Forbidden Door in the Lights Out cage match. I thought this match was just a crazy spectacle. I didn't really know what to expect because that face team was so banged up, and then you had Gabe Kidd also banged up. So I knew there would be a lot of smoke and mirrors, and there was quite a bit of smoke and mirrors. But with 10 guys in this match, I thought it hit it all well. There's some crazy spots. You had the Darby's ear getting all busted open, which was really effective. You had some funny stuff, although most of it was on Twitter with Kota Ibushi. But you did have him being the voice of reason with Tanahashi, which I thought was very funny. We're about a month removed, so a lot of the spots are escaping me here. But a lot of good fun stuff here. I went 4.5 on this. I thought this was really great. I'm not sure how much rewatchability it would have, but as a live experience, it was very fun. And coming in at number 1 of my best match of August, you have Bandido defending the ROH World Heavyweight title against Hechicero at Ring of Honor Death Before Dishonor. This was my favorite Bandido title defense that he's had since regaining this belt. I think the Takeshita match is very close. Everyone is kind of wishy-washy on which one's better. I landed on Hechicero being a little better. I went 4.5 on this, and I think 4.25 on the Takeshita match. I thought this one was more of an epic, but it really worked. One of my favorite things is towards the end of the match, because it did go a little long and missed the peak, where Hechicero was visibly gassed, but because the match was so good, I thought it didn't take away. I thought it actually added to the match, that he, Shoot had nothing left. He wasn't selling. He just had nothing left on the tank before the finish here. A lot of great stuff, a lot of crazy spots in this. A couple scary things that were probably a botch, but some of those botches that come off better than if they did it clean. I want to say Bandido went for the 21 pucks a couple times, and Hechicero always had a counter. And then once he finally hit it, that was the sign of the end, or maybe it was the weird GTS. I can't remember the finish here now. But this match also probably went a little too long, but I missed most of this show, so I came back live just as it was kicking off. So I was kind of gaining my bearings for the first couple minutes, so the slow start didn't really take away from me personally. Not sure how well it would held up on rewatch. All right, that wasn't the cleanest. I don't have notes, and I'm doing this all from memory. It's a little sloppy, but let's move on to September. This should be a little fresher in my mind. September, I got 11 matches that are 3 3/4 or higher, so I only got one honorable mention, and that is the Captain's Fall match between Gajadokuro and Love&Peace from the September 14th Dragon Gate show. Kikta is going to make his first defense against Ben K here, coming up in the first week of October. One of the ways they promoted this was they did a 5-on-5 Captain's Fall match. I thought there was a lot of good stuff here. Love&Peace is always fun. You got all 5 members of Love&Peace together, which doesn't happen that often, which I thought made for a very fun dynamic. This was kind of your establishing Gajadokuro tag match as well. I think this match was hurt because there's not a great story right now going on between Kikta and Ben K. I haven't watched the latest show from this Sunday, but the way they're setting the story up has been kind of weird. Before that, where Kikta's just getting the upper hand on Ben K every time. I think Ben K earned this title shot by pinning a stablemate, but not actually pinning Kikta. I don't think Kikta's taken any falls here since the heel turn. I think Ben K took the fall before Hyo got eliminated. So Love&Peace lost this with 2 members left. I had a lot of fun with this. A little long just because of an elimination style with 10 men. Got a little disjointed in places, but pretty good showing. A lot of fun overall. Coming in at 10, I had Jon Moxley and Darby Allin's coffin match from AEW All Out. This was very violent and very fun of a coffin match. For me as a wrestling fan, doing this rating system and rating reviews and comparing it to other people, I've kind of learned a lot of the little niche things that bother me about wrestling that other people really like. And though that really stood out in this match and my number 9 match, and that's those dead moments when you're selling the emotion and selling the story. I think a lot of people love that. I kind of just start internally counting the seconds, and there was a lot of dead time in this match, and a lot of dead time in Moxley matches in general. I also was pretty low on the all-in main event, which was a last man standing, so it was built into the match, where I feel like I'm just waiting for the next thing to happen. And while it's only taking 10, 15 seconds, it kind of feels like an eternity when you're doing spot, 15 second spot, 15 seconds. So that really hurt this match for me. I went 3 3/4. A lot of people are going like 4.5 and higher on this. I can see why they're doing that. I just thought this match got a little boring in places like that when you're kind of waiting for the next big thing to happen. I also didn't watch this live. Not that I think the Pac return was executed well, but I didn't think it was particularly exciting even as a big Pac fan. And with that reveal spoiled ahead of time, a lot of that stalling and waiting, I was kind of just waiting for Pac, and all those seconds kind of felt like an eternity. So I didn't think this was quite great. I went 3 3/4. Coming in at number 9, I had a similar story here with MJF and Mark Briscoe in the tax match. Everything was executed great. That's kind of my review of All Out. I'll probably do an All Out review tomorrow or later tonight. I thought everything was executed well. I just thought it was kind of slow, and even though I don't have much complaints about the actual match structure or stories told, I just didn't find it as compelling as I wish I did. That was kind of the story here, where they told a very rudimentary, basic story, which often works the best in pro wrestling, similar to my number 1 match on the month that you'll hear in a bit. But those kind of stallings, doing a big bump in the tags and then 30 seconds before the next bump or wrestling move, hurt this match for me, prevented it from being great. It's still very, very good, 3 3/4, but just a little bit too boring and too many spots for me that took me out of it. Coming in at number 8, you got the 3-way tag match from the September 4th Drag Gate show in Korakuen Hall. Psypatra taking on D'Courage and Not Hug. I thought this was very fun. This was establishing Psypatra as a tag team, even though they've been tagging the whole year. Kind of establishing this new Psypatra gimmick. It's not too different from what Shun Skywalker and Hamari have been doing. But now that they're fully split from Z-Brats, and they're looking like they're going to actually start their own faction here, Psypatra. They took on the champs of D'Courage and the former champs last year of Not Hug, Naruki Doi, and Dragon Kid. A lot of great stuff here. Shun and Hamari's tag finisher was outstanding. A little too short, I think, to be great for me. And you had the 3-way to protect the D'Courage tag team champions here to not take the fall. I don't anticipate Shun and Hamari challenging for the tag belts here anytime soon. So pairing them up here is a little odd, but it's probably a precursor for what's going to come at Final Gate or so. 3 3/4 on this as well. Very, very good. I would recommend this match. It's only a 10-minute match, so it's a pretty good sprint. Not quite great, though. Coming in at number 7, you had the Trios match from CMLL's anniversary show. Guide Team, Masquerada Dorada, and Neon, and Atlantis Jr. taking on Hechicero, Voltor Jr., and Zandakin Jr. This was the one match, I thought, on the anniversary show that was more of a standard CMLL match, but you had 6 of their top guys here. You're really only missing Mistico from the match here to have all the top guys in CMLL. They let these guys just go out there and cook. This was a longer match than you would expect for it being in the middle of the card. I think they went about 15 minutes. I'm not a huge fan of the Lucha 2 out of 3 falls match because it kind of feels like you're just going through the motions of fall 1 and fall 2 before fall 3. This match was the exception of that. I thought all 3 falls were wrestled kind of out of a more American pace. So even when you knew that the heels would win the second fall to tie it up 1-1, there was still suspense in there. You weren't kind of just going through the motions waiting for the pin. They had a consistent match throughout. I thought everyone kind of got to highlight what they're best at, including Atlantis Jr. and his Arena Mexico reactions. I thought this was great stuff. I went 4 stars here. Coming in at number 6, I had the AEW Tag Title ladder match from All Out. Bandido defending against the Bucks, Joshi, and Jet Speed. I'm one of the people that think ladder matches are pretty played out. AEW probably does them better than anyone, though. They always feel a bit more like a match than a spot fest. Even though with 8 men in there, it was very spot festy. Not everything worked here, but 8 guys, and they're all 8 great wrestlers. They really went out there to impress. All the spots are a bit of a blur to me. Speedball did his ultimate weapon on the ladders, which was scary just because it was a terrible idea that didn't go well. That's the only real spot that I can remember off the top of my head. But there's plenty of crazy shit in this match. Bandido and Brody King defend the belts here. I went 4 stars. Very good stuff here. This was my 3rd best match on All Out. Number 2 is coming up here in a couple. Coming in at number 5, I have the main event from CMLL's anniversary show of the what ultimately became a mask versus mask match. But I got the whole thing here included as one match here. So you had Esfinge and Valiente taking on Dragon Rojo Jr. and Barbaro Cavenario taking on Averno and Ultimo Guerrero. 3-way elimination tag that leads to a one-on-one mask versus mask match. The opening tag portion was fine. That part probably is under 4 stars. I enjoyed it. I thought it worked for what it was. You're coming off a big epic. That was my number 1 match on the month. So you're really just trying to get to the mask versus match part. I'd probably go about 3.5, maybe 3.25 on that opening tag part. And then Esfinge and Valiente really went out there and worked hard. They kind of botched the finish, which sucked. But Valiente brought everything here. Similar to the old guys and the undercard in their hair versus hair match. When you're 50 in one of these matches, you leave it all on the table. It's probably the last great match you have. Valiente made sure of that. Mask versus mask portion is probably a little over 4 stars, so altogether I went 4 stars when combined it all together. Coming in at number 4, you got Hangman defending the men's world title against Kyle Fletcher at All Out. Kind of the story of All Out for me was everything was good, but everything was too long, which made everything a little too boring. This match suffered the same fate here. Just way too long. I think they went 35 to 40 minutes. Probably should have been like a 25-minute match. Had they cut 15 minutes off of this, is probably more like a 4.5-star match. But it just took way too long to get going. And so when it did finally get going, it was phenomenal. But I was already pretty much checked out here. I grade kind of harshly on boring me as a wrestling fan, even though some of the things that bore me are the things people love about wrestling. This match I don't think was that, like it was for the MJF Briscoe and Moxley Darby matches. This match I think was just boring because they were trying to bleed into WrestlePalooza. But the last 15 minutes of this, some of the best wrestling you'll see all year. Went 4-star on average just because of the length. But that, like I said, that closing stretch probably like 4.5. So if you were to put this match on and skip like 10 minutes in, I think this match is phenomenal. Coming in at number 3 was Sayaka Itami and Azumi from Stardom on September 27th. Stardom put this match for free on YouTube along with the rest of this show. Sayaka Itami is having one of the best years, really only rivaled by Mistico for Wrestler of the Year. This was a title versus title match here in Korakuen Hall. They did a bit of crowd brawling and stuff at the beginning, which didn't really work for me. I think depending on those opening 10 minutes or so is where you ultimately land on this. The second half of the match I thought was really great. Not being super familiar with these women, I'm not sure what signatures and what's finishers, so it felt a little finisher spammy to me. I'm not sure that it actually was, but you had Azumi going for the armbar a couple times, Sayaka Itami going for her like fisherman Falcon Arrow move a couple times before finally landing the one that ended it. Great stuff. I don't watch enough Stardom. Not all of it hits for me. Sometimes, especially at All-Star Queendom, I thought everything kind of leaned into being too epic-y, which didn't really work for me. This didn't really do that, although it had elements of it. This was more of the kind of Stardom match that I like, where it was just faster paced. Could have done it with a little bit more excitement in the beginning, a little less move spamming at the end, but overall I thought this was great. I went 4.25 on this. Coming in at number 2 is my number 1 match from AEW All Out. That was Kazuchika Okada defending his United title against Konosuke Takeshita and Masquerada Dorada. Dorada almost had the best weekend out of anyone. That honor is going to go to someone in my number 1 spot. But Dorada had 2 4-star matches here in the span of less than 24 hours with his 6-man tag and CMLL and then this 3-way match. He was the star of this match. They really let him shine and kind of be in that babyface overcoming. So Okada, the story of the match is Okada and Takeshita are clearly rivals that are on a collision course, but they're in the same faction. So there's a lot of tension there, but they both want to prove they're better than the other. So Dorada was kind of the plucky underdog here. You knew he was the guy that was going to take the fall, with Takeshita being the G1 winner, probably about to win the IWGP title. But they did a great job of making you forget that with how they worked for Dorada, and both these guys worked more of a lucha pace. Okada really showed his Mexican roots here. Worked the hardest he's probably worked all year, in there with two great workers. Everything about this match was phenomenal. It never slowed down. You never felt like you were just doing spot for spot. You felt like all three guys were trying to win this match the whole time. You had great dives, great big spots, great strikes, awesome stuff. I thought they executed the story with Okada and Takeshita perfectly as well. Because going into this, it felt like a big cop-out to do a three-way just because you didn't want to pin either guy. But the story they told in this match, and the tension they kind of set up as the follow-up to this story, I thought was phenomenal. I don't have anything bad to say about this match. It's just with it being a three-way and the clear winner and loser going into it, I think held it back a little bit. But I went 4 1/4, and honestly, I probably could have go a little higher on this. This is about as high of a 4 1/4 match as you can get. And coming in at number 1, I have my coming in at number 1, I have my 4th 5-star match of the year. And this was Mistico versus MJF from CMLL's anniversary show, Mask vs. Title. This was just perfect pro wrestling. I don't know how else to explain it. They did very simple, huge baby face, and the foreign heel came in, cheap shotted him off the bat, got him bloody. You can't really bleed in Arena Mexico, but they pulled some power trip and some politics here to get Mistico to blade, and he bladed way too much, probably on accident, but it really added to the match because the match just kind of felt like a murder scene. This crowd was on fire for Mistico. CMLL does a pretty bad job overall of miking their audience, but this crowd was so molten hot for Mistico that it felt like you're watching like a WWE show with the crowd mic'd the way it sounded. I can only imagine what it sounded like if it was actually mic'd properly. You probably couldn't hear anything. Nothing really remarkable or out of this world from the work of both these guys. They just did basic pro wrestling, but had the crowd eating out of the palm of their hand at everything. Every move mattered. Every near fall mattered. With the way Mistico was gushing, you felt like the match could end at any second. Even though Mistico's mask was on the line, so you knew there was a 0% chance of him losing, they just had that magic in the air. They did everything right. This is what's so frustrating about MJF for people like me, because I know he's capable of this. I'm not surprised at all he pulled this off. He just doesn't do it as frequently as you would like to see it, and he has a lot of bad matches when you know he's capable of this. So it was very refreshing to see him not only pull off the match he had at All Out, which I thought was very, very good. Most people thought was great. But then to have this, which is one of 4 5-star matches I have on the year. Right now, I think it is my match of the year. And I just wish he could deliver this more than once a year or once every 6 months, because I feel like he could do 3-4 of these a year. He's not a worker like Will Ospreay, but I think he could deliver epics like this as frequently as Ospreay does. So hopefully this woke something up in him. I think this clinched Wrestler of the Year for Mistico. He probably had it locked up before this match, but then to go out there and deliver a 5-star epic like this. This match didn't overstay its welcome, which I'm a big fan of. I think this is a match you could show to someone that's never watched pro wrestling before to explain what it is to them. It had every element you're looking for in pro wrestling. Can't recommend this enough. Go out of your way to see this if you haven't already. I'm going to end the video there. Thanks, guys. Have a good one. Bye.